Well, I'm up, and this is on my mind. It's like 7 a.m. And normally I'll get up about this time and use the restroom, get right back into bed, watch a little bit of the news, and I fall asleep for a little bit. The news watch me, and then I turn the word on. Uh, King James, uh, this YouTube app where it plays the word of God, and then it's playing some soft music. And then I'll turn that on, and I normally sleep and won't get up until like sometime 11:30, 12 o'clock. So for me to be making this video at 7 a.m., I don't know, it was just on my mind about what they're doing with the Job Corps. Um, I saw an article on yesterday where they're closing all of the Job Corps. And I have a Job Corps story. And my Job Corps story, what Job Corps did for me, Job Corps pretty much started my life off, if you will, because the direction that my life would go into. And that's why Job Corps was so important for me. In high school, honestly, like most people, they loved high school. They have so many memories about high school. I actually hated high school with a passion. I hated high school so much. I would even have nightmares as an adult that I was back in school. And I mean, it was just a horrible time for me. And I'm not sure where that started, but I know in the 6th grade, I was shot. And I didn't finish out the whole 6th grade year. I don't know how long I was out of school because of this injury, but I think I didn't finish off the full 6th grade year, but when I did go back to school, I forget what portion of the seventh grade that I was in. So I guess I had enough hours or whatever you would call it in the 6th grade in order for me to make it to the 7th grade. But again, I don't know where at in the 7th grade that I started going to school, but in the 7th grade, I don't know, it was just a shift. I guess in the 6th, 5th, and all of that, I enjoyed school, but starting off in the 7th grade, I don't know, there was a shift. I don't know if what happened to me and the fact that I was away from school for a while because of my injury, because of what my accident, what happened to me. I'm not sure what it was, but from 7th grade all the way to 12th grade, I had to go to summer school in order to be advanced to the next school year because I would just never have enough, I guess, credits or whatever they called it in order for me to pass. So it's like every school year I failed and had to go to summer school in order to be moved on to the next school year. And in high school, like I said, it went on all the way up to high school. It was the same way. In order for me to make it to the next school year, I had to go to summer school. It was a must that I go to summer school. And even in my senior year, I had to go to summer school. I wasn't able to march with my class or to receive the robe and the gown like everybody else was going and excited about that. I didn't have that. I didn't get that excitement. But I had to go to summer school in order to get my diploma. I truly struggled in school, and it wasn't because I was a dumb person or a lazy person. It was just something about it. I just didn't like it. In high school, I just really didn't like high school. And it was history. I hated history. Mainly because, honestly, because they wasn't telling me anything about my people. And I just knew that my people did some things, but in high school, you would think that black folks did nothing. So I dreaded high school. So whenever I went and you would get your books, forget what part of the year that you would go and get your books, and everybody was excited about getting their books. I would get those books and I would put them in the locker. I wouldn't study. I wouldn't do anything. But whenever it came time to take those tests, SATs or whatever, I would pass, because it was like I would sit in the class and I would just listen. So I learned, by listening, and I would pass the test. But in the classrooms, I just wouldn't do the work. I just wouldn't do it. And I remember in I think writing or whatever, we had to write in cursive. And I was stubborn. I just refused to write in cursive. And to this day, I do not know how to write in cursive. When I do my signature, I just do like the doctors. I was like, if it's good for the doctors, it's good for me. So my first name is Angela, and last name starts with a D. And so how I would do my name, and my signature is different every time. So what I would do is I would put an A and I would just sling the rest of it over there, like zzz. And that's my signature. I really don't know how to write in cursive. If I was to write in cursive, it would look like somebody in kindergarten was doing it. I would have to really focus on writing an A and then an N, and then I don't know how to do it. So I remember we had to write some kind of thing or whatever it was, an essay or something. And she told me, my English teacher told me it's a wonderful essay, but you didn't write it in cursive. So instead of me getting an A for it, I got a B. And that truly upset me, because I felt like, why do we have to write in cursive? And you look now, we don't even need it. We don't even need it. So I gave that little story about high school because I just wanted to just show just how much I was not looking forward to going to college after high school, because I was like done with books and studying and all. I just didn't want to do it. So after high school, I just kind of, I didn't really have any direction. Just floated around. Like I would go to my mom's house or my aunt's house or my grandmother's house, or we just did whatever. And it's like my mom wasn't really pushing me, saying you got to do this and you got to do that. It just wasn't there. So one day my aunt, my grandmother's sister, she came over to my grandmother's house and she asked me, she said, now that you're done with high school, what are you going to do? And I told her, I said, I don't know. So she said, I want you to be ready. I'm going to come by here tomorrow and I'm going to take you to Job Corps. So Job Corps was a straight shot. I believe it's probably a mile, maybe a mile and a half. It's a straight shot from my grandmother's house to where Job Corps was. And it's actually on the same side of the street. It was on 3rd Street. And my grandmother stayed on 3rd and Evergreen. So she came by the next day and she picked me up and she took me to Job Corps, and they talked to me and told me everything, and I said I would join. And once I did the tour, I was excited about it. But my thing was, because you had to pick out, what you wanted to do as far as a trade or, something like that. Because some people, they took up childcare, or they took up something concerning banking, whatever field that you wanted to go into, as your career. So I most definitely didn't want to do anything where I thought I was going to have to do any studying. That's just where my mind was. I was just done with them books. So I was like, well, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to get me a trade. And I said, well, plumbing seems like that'll be kind of easy to catch on to. I think carpentry, I can catch on to that. And, they had cement block, brick masons, and then they had electricity. And I was like, well, electricity is not something that you can just go out and do, just start doing, like carpentry, like building things. Dealing with electricity, you got to know what you're doing or you could lose your life. So I chose electricity. And I think 1 week you were in your trade, and the other week you had to go through classes. So I said, well, I think I could deal with that for a week. So little did I know, in electricity, it was not just you just working with wires all the time. When I tell you that we had to get into them books, especially dealing with math. And I didn't really care for math. But when I tell you, I had my instructor, and I will never forget this man. And right now, I'm not sure if his name is Mr. Bud Bailey. I'm not sure if he's still alive or not. But that man saved my life. I really do believe he did. He gave me an interest in math that I never had. He taught in such a way that he made things easy. Now, again, I gave that story about high school just to show how I struggled in high school. But the way this man taught, it's like he taught on whatever level that you were on. And in high school, I just don't believe that the teachers picked up on that. I don't believe they picked up on that students learned on different levels. And for me to sit down and read a book and to comprehend I didn't have that gift. I didn't have it. Whenever I read books, I have to take my time and read them maybe once or twice in order for me to get it. I didn't catch it like that as far as from reading. But how I would catch on real fast is if I sat still and just listen. And I go back to how I passed the test in high school. I would never read any books. I just took them books and put them in the locker. And whenever the teacher was talking or whatever, I would just listen. And if she was writing something on the chalkboard, and you would have to, write down notes. If that teacher finished writing and started erasing it, I wouldn't even say, just a minute, I'm not done. I wouldn't say a word. I would just let her do it, and I wouldn't write anymore, and I would just ball it up and throw it in the trash. I don't know where my mind was, but I just hated high school, and I wouldn't talk. I would not talk. But Mr. Bud Bailey, this man, a real slim, he kind of looked like the little Slim Jim cartoon guy with the hat, and he wore like his jeans were like little tight jeans, but he was a white guy, and he kind of combed his hair back, and it looked like he had a little mousse in it. He wasn't old, but he was like an older guy, and he was a slim guy. But he was a very smart man. And when I tell you trigonometry, whatever it was, when I tell you the way that man taught on all my papers, I made A's. And it even amazed me. I made A's. And in my class, I was the only female. For a long time, I was an only female. And just as I was about to complete the course, I think it's like one other female came into the class. And her name was Laura. I remember her, and Lori has passed away since. But I was the only female, and I was the top of my class. And what they did for those who were the top of their classes in their trades, what Job Corps did is they offered jobs in the field that you were in. They took the top, I was the top of my class in Jacksonville, and I think it was myself, another female from another Job Corps somewhere else, and two other guys. They were from other Job Corps in other places where they were the top of their classes. And we met up in Atlanta. And this is my first time ever, being away from home. And my parents was excited for me, and I was excited about it. And I asked them, and they was like, yeah, fine. I was around, I think I was about maybe 19, I believe. 18 or 19. And I moved to Atlanta through Job Corps now. What they did is me and the female, they got us an apartment. They got us an apartment, and they purchased us a car. We had to share that. We shared the apartment, we shared the car. And then the two guys that was from the other Job Corps, they had an apartment together, and they had a vehicle together. And I ended up working in Atlanta. I believe it was Marietta. And I couldn't stay in Atlanta because it was just so cold, and the traffic was so bad. And I began to get homesick, and I made an excuse, and told them that my mom was sick and I needed to go home. So I left the job and I came back home. And when I came back home, I went to Mr. Bud Bailey, told him my story. This man got me into, I forget the name of it, I think it's North something. Anyway, it was like a campus for electrical students right here in Jacksonville. Well known. This man got me into that little college course for electrical students. And I went for a while, and then flashbacks came. All of that studying and the books, and I just couldn't do it. And I dropped out of it. But Job Corps, it pretty much started me off. And after Job Corps, because I was used to having a little job when I was in Atlanta, Mr. Bud Bailey, he got in contact with this electrical company, and I was able to start off at a lower level electrician at this company. So I ended up working in the electrical field. I had 2 jobs in the electrical field eventually. And I kind of got a little tired with that. And even though I was still working, I was just kind of hanging out with just 2 of my little friends. And we would just, on the weekends, do our little drinking. And I was in the weed then and, getting high. And I kind of got tired of doing that. It's like I wanted something more because of what I had in Job Corps. It gave me a thirst to want more, to want to excel. And I remember one day I was sitting with them and we were getting high. And I told them, I said, y'all, I'm going to join the Marine Corps. And they were like, girl, you ain't joining no Marine Corps. And I was like, yes, I am. So long story short, I ended up joining the Marine Corps, did 4 years, got out, ended up working for the Marine Corps at a place on Blunt Island is what they call it here in Jacksonville. I worked there for a while, but while I was in the Marine Corps, I came home and I took the test for the post office. So while I was working for the Marine Corps, the tests that I took, I pretty much aced those tests. So they sent me a letter and they offered me a job at the post office. So I ended up leaving the place on Blunt Island and I started working as a letter carrier. So, God had blessed me with decent jobs. So what I did, and I was making pretty good money. So what I did is I paid it forward. I kind of saw 2 of my nephews, my sister's sons. 2 of them, they were kind of headed in the direction that I was headed in after high school. Didn't have any direction. Was just kind of, standing around and hanging out and, So I approached them just the way my aunt approached me. Excuse me. I approached them and I told them, I said, if you all would join Job Corps, I would start you all with, I would get you all bank accounts, and I will buy you outfits so that you can have when you get ready to go to Job Corps. So they told me yes. I believe I took them to Job Corps. They did the tour. I think one of them he was in, I think, daycare, child development, something like that. And I believe the other one, he took up plumbing. So they took the offer. So I started them with bank accounts. And see, the thing what Job Corps would do, I forget how often it was, but they would give you a certain amount of money. I think it was, I don't know, I think it was every 2 weeks. I don't know how often it was. Job Corps will put a little piece of money in your pocket. They fed you. And I was involved in playing basketball. I think I played softball. Job Corps was nice. And again, along with the monies that they were giving you, I told my nephews, I said, I'll start you all off with bank accounts. So once they would get their little money, then they could learn how to, keep their money in the bank. Teach them. And trying to think, what did I get them? I forget where I got the accounts at. But I got them the bank accounts, and by me working at the post office, again, I was making good money. Forget how long I did it, but every week when I got paid, I would get them a couple of outfits so that they would have clothing when they went to Job Corps. So that's really what Job Corps did for me. It gave me a start, and then what my aunt did for me, I paid it forward. And I did the same thing for my two nephews. One of them, well, at the time, she only had 4 boys. But one of them was older, and he was kind of doing his own thing. And at the time, the baby boy, his father was in his life. So, he had a little cushion. But the other two, they didn't. I think they were staying with my mother at the time. And I just kind of saw that their life was headed in the same direction mine was in before my aunt approached me with the Job Corps offer. And I just wanted to do the same for them because I saw and I knew what I got out of Job Corps and how fun it was. Now, my nephew, he told me when he called me for that 1 minute call that he not long ago called me. And I asked him when he was getting out, and he told me Sunday, so I believe he got out yesterday. I don't know. But when he got out of high school, I went to him and I gave him the same offer that I gave my other 2 nephews. I told him, I said, if you would join Job Corps, I would get you a bank account. And I think with my nephews, I put a little money in their bank account for a little while. Just to get their money up. And I told him, I said, I'll get you a bank account, and once a week, I'll put a little something in it, and I will take you shopping once a week. He told me, no, auntie, I got other plans. I got something else I got planned. Now, fast forward. According to his plans, I'm guessing that jail was in the plans. Because that's how his life has gone from high school. If I can remember, I think he's gone to jail maybe 3 or 4 times. I'm not sure. And I don't mean to, well, you all don't know who he is. I guess somebody in my family may know who he is, but it just goes to show that this generation here, they don't really appreciate the gift that Job Corps gave to most of us. And then not just with Job Corps, just what I offered along with Job Corps. I said, if you go, I start your account, I put money in your account, and I buy you an outfit every week. For a while, I don't know how long I was going to buy the outfit, but I just wasn't buying outfits for the entire time he was going to be in Job Corps. But I forget how long I bought the outfits for my nephews, and I forget how long I was putting the money in their accounts. But that's a good deal, along with what Job Corps was doing. But my nephew, and this is actually my nephew's son, he didn't take the offer. Job Corps was sweet. Job Corps gave me a second chance. It did. Job Corps gave a lot of people a second chance. They had, for a while, I forget how long, but we had like reunions where you would go back and, you know, see how everything is looking, and, you know, go through classes, and they would let you talk to the people that were still, you know, the students that were currently there, and, you know, telling them what Job Corps did for you. And, you know, it was just kind of fun because I didn't have that in high school. I didn't have that excitement. And we even had a graduation. So I was able to do the cap and gown thing at Job Corps. And again, I was the top of my class. So I was, they call it the valedictorian things. I was a valedictorian at Job Corps. So Job Corps meant a lot to me, because what Job Corps showed me is that they were patient with the students. They were patient because you had people that came from every walk of life. You know, people who needed to get a second chance, people who maybe dropped out of high school, or, you know, their lives were headed in a different direction. Maybe they were in trouble a lot. And, you know, it's like Job Corps was a second chance at life, you know, getting your life, you know, started, because I believe that's what high school was supposed to do. You know, start your life off, and you know, to see what career you want to, you know, be in. It just, Job Corps was everything for me. Job Corps was everything for me. You know, and again, I don't know anybody else or any other setup, if you will, that once you complete it, that they gave you an apartment and a vehicle. I forget what kind of, I can remember the vehicle. I can picture it, but I forgot the name of that car. But I know that my roommate and I, we would take turns because it was so cold when we went. And the guy that was involved, he was like a ex-football player. His name was Mateo or something. I forget what his name was. But he was showing us around Atlanta, and they helped get us our furniture. They helped get us our furniture in our apartment. Again, our car. Now, once we got our jobs, then we were responsible for paying our rent and our light bill. So they were teaching us how to be responsible. Now, this was only offered for those who were the top of their classes in whatever whatever they took up, whether it was a trade, or maybe in banking or clerical or child development. Whoever was the top of the class, this was the offer. They gave them job offers out of the city or the state. But the offer that I had was Atlanta. And by me being young, 19, had never been out on my own, I was pretty excited about that. And that was my first apartment, even though I had to have a roommate. And she was a pretty cool person. I had a roommate, and we had our car, and we would take turns getting up every morning. We had to start that car up, and we would leave that car running because it was so cold. And we would take water out and pour it on the windshield because it would just be so frosty. And then we would get in the car and we would go to work. And the traffic was just so bad. I don't remember if we stayed in Marietta or we worked in Marietta. But either way, that traffic was so bad, and mixed with the cold weather, I was like, I talked to her and I told her, I said, I'm getting ready to go home. And she had a boyfriend. I forget where she lived, but she talked with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend ended up moving in the apartment. So I guess he got a job in Atlanta, so that was going to help her continue to pay the bills because she wanted to stay. And the other two guys that they had their apartment right next to us, I believe they stayed. I don't really remember. But when I saw yesterday that they were closing all of the Job Corps, that kind of made me feel some kind of way, because I know what Job Corps meant to me, how it changed my life. It gave me a second chance. And actually, with my two nephews, how I paid it forward, it helped them as well. Because I don't know if the other one worked in the plumbing or not, but I do know that the one that was in child development, he did work in that field for a little while. So, when I saw that they were closing the Job Corps, I was like, well, we see where this world is headed. And again, I tell people, all of this is done purposely. to collapse this current world order. They don't want to help people. They don't want to see people advance in careers. Again, I tell people, all of these jobs are going to be gone, period. There aren't going to be any more jobs. They don't care if your children, from high school, what are they going to do next? They're not even thinking about that, because there is no next for their future. Because again, there won't be any more jobs. I've made videos about it, mostly on Facebook. But they tell you that they're going to come out with a universal basic income where everybody will receive. I don't know if it's going to be monthly or however they're going to give it. And it will be digital. And it will be controlled. Because the end game is to control the people. But I just wanted to just make this video about what Job Corps meant to me. Just give my Job Corps story. Because Job Corps really set the course of my life. And I will always remember and be grateful for my aunt walking up to me that day, asking me, now that you're done with high school, what are you going to do now? So that put something in me that I always wanted to do something else. Again, after high school, Job Corps was my next step. After Job Corps, the Marine Corps was my next step. And then from the Marine Corps, then I got into, working. Started my career with the post office. I did the post office, carried mail for like 3.5 years. And then eventually, my last career, which was a city bus driver, I did that for 20 years and I retired in the year of 2020. So I will be always grateful for Job Corps and how it set the course of my life. And now they're shutting down all the Job Corps. So I just wanted to give my Job Corps story. It was just on my mind when I woke up like 6 something. It just hit me. And again, I saw this article like yesterday, but it just hit me. And I believe it was the Holy Spirit that said, make a video about Job Corps. Because that's the only reason why at 7 something in the morning, I am up. Again, normally I would get back into bed and I watch a little bit of the news. And then right before I go to sleep again, I turn the Word of God on, where it plays soft music as this man reads the King James Version. So after this video, that's what I'm about to do. Television is on, but the volume is down. News is on. So after that, after this video, I'm going to turn the Word on, put my head on the pillow, and just go right back to sleep. I probably just sleep off and on, and as I normally do, get up about 11 o'clock, maybe 12, and start my day. So I just wanted to give my Job Corps story and what Job Corps meant to me. Y'all take care.